Was a Harvey Weinstein victim silenced? And the biggest scandal yet to hit the Catholic Church. All this on the Ramos Rundown. What'd you do?
Welcome back, everybody!
What's up?
To another episode of the Ramos Rundown.
I think this would be a quick one, right? Because it's a Labor Day weekend.
That's what she said. Woo! Don't you know you're not supposed to wear white after Labor Day?
Painful memories.
Okay, so going forward, we have some very interesting topics coming up. Very touchy
topics.
Yeah, so we're just going to dive right in. And I'm going to go into the Harvey Weinstein story that is being covered up or was being covered up by NBC.
It's been on the wraps. It's been kind of low-key for a while. After the Me Too movement, they kind of moved the spotlight away from him.
Lower down.
He was just on the low, but maybe it was strategic.
Brought it back. You know, him being, I guess, a movie mogul. He had some people in the MSM, you know, keeping the story on the low. But it just came back with a covered up story of a credible rape allegation against Weinstein. And it was from a former investigative reporter in the NBC team. And he ended up having to kind of back up on the story that he was investigating of a woman in California because his superiors were saying it's a he said, she said. I don't think it's a good story. It was during the times where they didn't really know if the allegations towards Weinstein were going to, you know, uphold. Yeah. And it ended up being that later on in the story, Weinstein was recorded by undercover police officer saying how he was groping and touched women.
Oh, so they caught him red-handed.
Red-handed.
Basically.
And the superiors of NBC still said that this is not a good story to run. And
it's funny how that works, right? How they'll cover up that story. In the light of this whole Me Too movement, you know, empowering women to, you know, own their truth and, you know, to stand up for what's right. But you have a big person like that whether he's lining pockets or maybe he has dirt on other people in the news world and Hollywood.
I think he for sure has dirt on a lot of people.
That's like we talked about the other week, morals and ethics. Obviously something there is getting blurred out, and power, money, position
supersedes it all.
But I don't think anybody's really been talking about that. It's been on the wraps.
Well, it's been on the
story.
The story has been on the wraps, and then it just got released. There's a lot of news articles coming out in the past 24 hours to 48 hours. And he pretty much was under investigation by Roman Farrow. And he was going to head to LA to interview this woman. And the NBC whistleblower is actually, Rich McHugh. He's a 43-year-old producer who worked closely with Farrow on the Weinstein story. And this is all being brought to light because the fellow Roman Farrow, he's actually working on a documentary with Al Gore about what do they call that, global warming. I think it's a big deal now.
So I was like, wait, you haven't heard of global warming?
Yeah, there's no, I guess, conflict of interest, and he doesn't care if he gets fired because he's already gone. So he came up with the story.
Oh, interesting.
So pretty big. And I was actually looking into what's up with Harvey Weinstein now. He's actually a paralegal on his own case.
What?
Yeah. So he's a paralegal.
How does that work?
I guess since he's filed for bankruptcy, which he has to have money somewhere.
Oh, that's... Yeah, even Trump has filed for bankruptcy. It's a thing. You can file for bankruptcy, and there's ways around it. Mm-hmm. It's strategic. Sometimes they tell you file for bankruptcy, and you'll get certain leniency and stuff like that. So that guy has money.
So he's filed for bankruptcy. He's a paralegal on his own case, and he's now has allegations from 87 women. 87 women. Jeez. And the accusers are in New York, Los Angeles, and London. So I guess he figured this is going to cost me an arm and a leg, so let me be a paralegal.
Is it called class action or a collective lawsuit when they all get together?
So it's not a class action suit. It's actually individuals that have been doing the lawsuits against Harvey Weinstein. However, if I guess all 87 women across New York, Los Angeles, and London wanted to do one, they may have one, but it would be under a different court system because I guess England being
across the state lines.
Yeah, a different country, it would be a different type of battle. So he has to fly between New York for some cases and Los Angeles and even London. He has to have representation. So it's a pretty big ordeal.
And that's why he's probably trying to be his own paralegal, costs and everything.
Yeah, exactly. And he's filed for bankruptcy. So, I mean, him having that many accusers and them trying to cover it up is pretty astonishing. And I think that there's been an issue with cover-ups with a lot of these powerful people. Oof. And the next is the most powerful, I guess, religious figure you can go and say that is man on the face of this earth, which is the Pope, Papa in the papacy. Pope Francis. So a lot of people are calling Pope Francis to resign. Because if you guys haven't heard yet, there is a Pennsylvania that just hit my toe. Son of a Woo! So
laughing at the phone, not the story.
Oh my God. So back to the story. Oh my God, I'm seeing stars. We're back, folks. I'm sorry. We had to take a moment because he absolutely destroyed my toe. It's pretty much broken right now.
Baby.
Yeah, I can't feel it. Right. So back to the story. Pope Francis is facing a lot of heat in the Catholic Church and around the world because he has been involved in a grand jury report in Pennsylvania that has found more than 1,000 children in 6 dossiers that have been sexually abused by over 300 priests.
That's spanning decades, right?
Higher ranking officials, spanning decades. Now, this is actual proof that this has been going on.
Yeah.
So just imagine the ones that haven't been proved. But before we go into this story, there's a movie called Spotlight. It's won over like 121 awards between Best Motion Picture, Oscar. It will leave your jaw to the floor, just in pure shock and astonishment.
Yeah, it's on a quick summation. It's a journalist trying to investigate the Catholic Church in Boston.
It's a team of journalists. They're called Spotlight. The Boston Glows, my Red Sox faithful.
Boston. But you really need to check it out. It's eye opening and just to see kids go through that and trust somebody, especially in a position of power that's supposed to be representing God and the church, to do that. Then they wonder why
people have been losing their faith in the morals and ethics right now going on in society. It's just out of whack. So I definitely recommend Spotlight, and that will tie into this story and maybe a lot of other stories that you see going around the globe. So going back to the Pope Francis story, they had Josh Shapiro, which is the prosecutor in Pennsylvania. He is the one who did an investigation that says that these allegations have gone all the way up to the Vatican. Okay, that people in the Vatican have helped cover up these child abuse scandals. And
I mean, they do. It's like, why would they want to release it? The more of these come out early, they start investigations and seeing who knows. So they just sweep it under the rug like a cat that hides, hides under the rug.
Well, I don't know about cats doing that. Maybe dogs, but yeah.
Isn't that the saying? Cats hiding under the rug?
Cats,
not turds in general, but like actual.
Yeah. I don't know, but I'm just amazed that this is not getting 24/7 news coverage, and it's not a bipartisan issue. That both parties aren't saying, okay, we've had children on U.S. soil being abused sexually, okay, by these men. I'm pretty sure that there's been no nuns involved, and not every single news station is covering this and just going on Pope Francis and all these other individuals involved.
There's so many things behind the scenes that are involved: power, money, position, things like that. Look at Hollywood. Hollywood has a bunch of scandals and allegations coming out of not only rape and abuse, but of minors as well, of children, child rings. Even look at the public school system. There's allegations galore every year, and it's happening whether it's in the churches and Hollywoods and the schools, in other forms of society, and it's not getting the proper attention. It's not getting the proper reform that's needed to help hold people accountable. And we don't have kids. Yeah. If they don't have kids, I don't know what the future is going to be like. How am I going to trust somebody, a babysitter, much less going to school or going to church or anywhere. You don't know what you're gonna give people to. You don't know what people are nowadays.
Yeah, it's just. I think we're becoming numb to these type of stories that people aren't taking this seriously. Like every single time you see another person shot or another person stabbed and murdered or this person was robbed or another sex scandal, there's always another issue that I guess the news is just so negative that we're just numb. But this is such a big, I don't even want to say scandal. I want to say detriment to society that this has been brushed under, that I think it needs to be the full force of the law, internationally and locally, on our soil, to go after these men.
You need a clean house. You need a clean house completely. But the Vatican's its own city with like walls. It's like its own country.
It is its own country.
It's absurd. So how do you clean house of something that has that much power rooted over centuries and over generations of generations?
It's a culture thing within people in the church, and
it's a shame because you have obviously, like we talked about, like people who out of good faith that are trying to better themselves and associate themselves with with God or a higher power they believe in, and have community and respect each other and things like that, be so vulnerable. They're so vulnerable to that, and it's going to take so much for them to gain that faith and that trust in the church again. Gathering around there, trusting them with their kids, with their energy, with their community. So at this point, I don't see any other way to fix it except just literally clean house and start from scratch, essentially. And like get back to what it was supposed to be, about community, about gathering around and having faith in God and trying to live up to that.
And that's the problem. They've made it more a religion instead of that relationship with God. Yeah. And I think people are starting to see that, especially one of the strongest Catholic groups in the world, which is the Irish community. There's over 4 million people in Ireland that are Catholic, and they're expecting, I think, 500,000 Irish people to attend the Pope Francis. I think it was like a mass, and only 130,000 attended. So 130,000 compared to the 500,000 they expected.
That's a massive drop,
and that is amid these scandals. So I think that they're starting to show in protest, we don't believe in our leader when these scandals are coming out and they knew about it and they're not protecting, they're not protecting our own kids. And I think things like what happened in this mass over time are going to show the church and even other organizations that we won't stand for this type of behavior. We won't stand for you taking advantage of us, whether it is through abuse in taxes, whether it's abuse in social discourse where you can't have the freedom of speech anymore, whether it's abuse in the
abuse of governmental power, or abuse of
any power, any institutional power or a cover-up, that the people are starting to speak up for themselves, and we won't stand for it anymore. And I hope that things like this truly and it's a line. It's a line because sometimes people are fighting for a cause, and who am I to say that that cause is right or wrong? But sometimes there are causes that is like, why?
It kind of hurts. It kind of hurts the general spirit of a movement where fighting things like this or even
everyone can agree on. These are what our producer Elliot was saying, the home run topics that everyone agrees that this is horrific. Everyone agrees the Harvey Weinstein story is horrific. Everyone agrees that the story in New Mexico is horrific. So if you haven't looked it up, actually, the story in New Mexico where there is the extremist that was training school shooters, look it up. Horrific. So these are topics.
They got released, by the way.
3 of them, yes.
Released.
I don't get how.
We'll put a link in the description for you to check it out.
Mind-boggling. But these are all topics that we can all agree on, and I feel like if you truly agree with us, which I hope you do, tell us, what do you think is the problem that is going on that we are letting this happen? How can we fix it? What is the next step forward to bring the unity that these institutions are supposed to bring?
Yeah, instead of just sitting around and, passing the time until the next horrific event happens. What can we do to jumpstart it? Conversation, action, like you said, coming together. And it starts in comment sections. It starts in households and over dinner tables and conversations. So let's get it started in our comment section. Let's see what we can do to really, like, once and for all, put this to rest.
Yeah. So this was another episode of the Ramos Rundown. We hope you enjoyed it. If you can, like it, comment, subscribe.
We'll be here next week. Next week, I think I'm traveling. So probably in 2 weeks will be the next video.
Yeah. So in 2 weeks will be the next video.
Tune in. In the meantime, check out some of our old videos. They're a little bit more lighthearted, a lot funnier.
Yeah. Show a friend. Show a friend of a friend. Show that random guy in the subway that you're sitting next to, or McDonald's, okay? They'll enjoy it.
Right? But in the meantime, stay tuned. Check out some of our old clips. And remember, we're here every week, except for next week. This is the Ramos Rundown.